Good morning, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to Jays Latest. I'm your host, Craig Borden. We're going to talk all things Toronto Blue Jays right here on Jays Latest. Make sure you hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons, and we'll talk Blue Jays all day, every day. So let's just dive into it because this one turned and escalated very quickly right out of the bat against the Minnesota Twinkies. So as the Blue Jays stepped into the box back at the Rogers Center Sky Dome, the Blue Jays jumped out to a giant lead to begin this game as they scored 4 runs in the first inning and eventually took Joe Ryan against the Minnesota Twins for a loss. The Blue Jays take the win 10-4. So in this one, 10 hits led to those 10 runs, and the Blue Jays had their biggest bat back in this lineup as DH Vlad Guerrero Jr. was back in the lineup yesterday, and all things seemed to be well. Watching him run out of the box seemed to be a normal thing. He went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs, which we'll get to in a very short, quick second here. But the big thing is, this is become a monster advantage for the Toronto Blue Jays being at home. So in this Max Scherzer start, the Blue Jays, I think over their last 40 games, are 30-9 or something. Just completely one-sided like that. So as far as the record on the main parts of the season, they are now 43-21 at home, which is one of the better home records in Major League Baseball. Yesterday, everybody in the wild card race won as well, so the Blue Jays keep pace and keep everybody off their heels. The division race is now within 1 as the Detroit Tigers did lose yesterday, so they are now 1 game away from potentially taking the best record in the American League. But if the season ended today, the beauty of that is the best 2 teams actually get a bye in the playoffs. So get that scoreboard watching going because it's officially that time of the season for the Blue Jays and everybody to be wondering where they're going to stack up over the final month of the season. So with 30 some odd games left, that's where we're at, and it's going to be an interesting one. So let's talk the offense in this game yesterday because things got off with a bang. After a couple little singles that drove in some runs, for some reason they pitched to Bo Bichette with runners on first and second, and George Springer and Bo Bichette make them pay. Bo Bichette ends up turning around and getting a single. George Springer scores while Nathan Lucas moves to third base. And then Dalton Varsho caps on him too. So Dalton Varsho's sac fly leads to the second run in the first inning as Nathan Lucas scores. And then the Maple Beef, Alejandro Kirk just comes in and just destroys a pitch to opposite field again with his typical home run stroke, his 11th of the season, a 2-run blast that drives in Bo Bichette and himself. 4-0 Toronto to end the first inning against a very, very good pitcher in Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan has now suffered in 2 of his most recent starts. But on that, things continue to get worse. And celebrating his bobblehead day, which is a pretty cool one. It's a little different. It slides around and stuff. I saw some pictures of it. It's really, really cool. Andres Jimenez picks up his 6th home run of the season on a bomb to center field on his bobblehead night. He would also later in the game steal a base that would lead to a score with George Springer on the bump at the plate too. Matt Wallner, the big thorn in the side of the Blue Jays offensively for the Minnesota Twins all evening. He would eventually have 2 home runs in this game, both off of Max Scherzer. So George Springer, as I mentioned, in the 4th inning, grounds the ball that leads to an Andres Jimenez single after he had stole the base. It was a big critical hit play in the game. As I mentioned, Wallner being the other big piece to this whole thing. Brooks Lee also got in on the action with driving in a run on an out with Byron Buxton scoring. Later in the game, let's flash forward to the 6th, which is where the Blue Jays were able to open this thing up and continue the onslaught on offense. Nathan Lucas doubles, which scores Ernie Clement and keeps the bases moving. Also, in that same inning now with Andres Jimenez in scoring position and Nathan Lucas also in scoring position, Vlad Jr. comes up to the plate, and guess what he does, everybody? He does Vladdy things with a nice single through the line on a single to the first base side hole, and he makes this a 10-4 game. Good things on Vladdy. So it was a wonderful game on offense, but let's talk Max Scherzer, because Max went through this one very, very upsy downsy, but it was mostly Wallner that got into him and touched him up through his 6 innings of work on the way to picking up his 5th win of the season. 6 innings of work, only allowing 4 hits, 2 of those to Wallner, and 4 earned runs off of 2 homers, both Wallner, and 5 strikeouts and a walk. So Max Scherzer did a very good job through this game outside of literally Matt Wallner. Picks up his 5th win, as I mentioned, and Justin Brule and Tommy Nance close out the last 3 innings and lead the Blue Jays to this final 10-4 victory. I cannot say enough good things about what Max Scherzer has been to this rotation. It is insanely cool to have a near Hall of Famer and veteran presence like him on the mound, and he is so amped up and looks like the guy that we were paying for in a Cy Young candidate. So it's been very great to see him do exactly what he's been doing and lead this pitching staff to new places, because that's exactly what it feels like at this point. Speaking of that pitching staff, current and former roommate, just kidding, Chris Bassitt will be on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. Max Scherzer and him obviously have now gotten the luxury of playing together a couple of times now, and in this season they are having great fun. As we get scoreboard watching, Chris Bassitt will lead the Blue Jays out against the Twins Tuesday evening, and Bailey Ober will be on the mound for the Twinkies. Ober is having a pretty rough season in 21 starts, 114 innings, currently has a 5.05 ERA. He has been a lot better over his last 3 starts, but it has been very, very up and down for him this season. Most recently played the Athletics, the Detroit Tigers, and the Kansas City Royals. And the only team that really touched him up in those starts, which he pitched at least 5 innings, was the Detroit Tigers. Got him for 3 earned runs on 4 hits. So don't know who we're going to get tonight as far as what we're going to get out of him in space, but the Blue Jays offense does anything like they did last night and continues the mantra of put the ball in play. Shit will happen. We will be all set. That's the biggest thing in baseball to me, and I think that's why the Blue Jays have been as successful as they have been. On the mound for us, Chris Bassitt will be looking to pick up his 12th win of the season as he just continues to be a pretty good damn pitcher for us. 5 2/3 in his last outing against the Pittsburgh Pirates, 10 strikeouts and 2 earned runs in 5 2/3. Before that, it's been a little ups and downs, but over his last 3 starts, he has not allowed more than 3 earned runs. They have been a little short side, though. So for somebody that's proud of being the guy that eats up innings, Bassitt's got a little bit of work to do on that while he tries to limit the damage and runs and whatnot. So that would be the game, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons like I mentioned. On the Jaybird Watching podcast tomorrow, live, we will be at 7 o'clock. We'll go to the heck out of that line. And we're also going to have a recording of an interview that we're going to have with our friend Pat Malacaro, the voice of the Buffalo Bisons. We will be talking with him about all things what's going on the farm as their season wraps up. So make sure you tune in for that and along with the live piece and have your questions answered on Jaybird Watching. And we will make sure we talk that all out. Until then, we will see you here at Jay's Latest tomorrow morning. Go Blue Jays. Cheers.